Wow. When it comes to hiring people, Sue is absolutely incredible, and she's got some really good insights that I just knew that was right for this community, because as small businesses, we are trying to do it all for ourselves. We do have to take very limited budget and turn that into, hiring somebody, and we can't afford to get it wrong because we can't stand over them and manage them. Otherwise, what was the point of having them in the first place? So Sue is going to share her truth bombs with us around how to actually hire that virtual team and get it right. We're going to have Sue talk to us for about half an hour. Then we're going to go into breakout rooms again, at which point, with probably new people, depending on how the random thing goes, you can in there discuss some of those principles, and then we'll come back to Sue where she will answer questions for us. So if you want to put questions in the chat box as well in case you forget them, and to prepare Sue for the Q&A, that's great. And Sue, you can choose whenever you want to look at that if you want to bring those in at that time. But yeah, Q&A is going to be after the breakout room session. So without further ado, let me introduce you, bring Sue up. So Sue, let me
okay. Thank you.
Set up your
yeah, can I share my screen? Yes, I think I can share my screen. Share and go from beginning. There we go. There's that another photo of me, which is all rather odd. It's a real pleasure to be with you today and to talk about one of my favourite subjects, which is HR recruitment, which is the start of your working relationship with an employee. And when you get the start right, everything else follows so much more simply onwards. I've had 30 years in HR and management development. I've recruited in the city and IT, done loads of it for ages. Executive coach for 20 years. Was an honorary teaching fellow at Lancaster University for 10 years, and actually did my course Leading Difficult People on their international MBA program for 4 years. And I'm currently offering a management program for managers and small business owners, all about how to inspire the uninspired, how to motivate your staff, and how to manage your staff, and what it is to be a good manager. So I'm going to kick off by absolutely killing one of your dreams. And I'm going to apologize in advance for doing it, but I'm still going to do it. And that is, hiring someone will save me time. It will in the long run, but it won't in the short run. Because you have got to take the time to plan who you need. You've got to take the time to recruit. You've got to take the time to induct. And then there is the ongoing time in managing someone. But without doubt, there comes a point when you've got so much on your plate and the business is being held back because it's all on your desk and things are beginning to fall between cracks and things aren't getting done and things are there gets a point where you need to have someone to take some of the tasks off your desk, and that is recruiting someone. But I want you to be aware that initially it is a time-loaded investment up front. You have to put time in it to get it right. If you don't, the recruitment will be wrong and it will cost you more time and could even do damage to your business en route. 40% of hires fail in the first 18 months. 40% of hires fail in the first 18 months. Now, even if you were a big mammoth employer with huge budget and did occupational testing and psychometric testing and all this kind of thing, you still make recruitment mistakes. But it's not a science, it's almost an art in some ways. But I'm going to minimize the chance of that mistake happening as much as I possibly can for you in this presentation today. So let me just share a little bit more and sort of shoot down a few more dreams that we all dream for when we're thinking about hiring someone. That they'll be able to read my mind and anticipate exactly what I need. Nope, doesn't happen. They'll understand my market sector and clients to the same depth as I do and therefore be able to speak in my voice. Nope. When you work with someone closely for a year, 2 years, yes, they start speaking in your voice. And yes, at that point, they will understand your sector and your clients to the same degree that you do. But initially, no, you cannot hire that person in, and you should never really abdicate your own voice. It's your company, it's your voice. It should still be your voice. That they already have a high level expertise in the IT systems that I use. You might be lucky. You might get someone who knows all the unique systems that you use, the 5 different systems that you use, and they know them all. But IT is highly complex, and even IT people don't know everything about IT. You need to have someone who's proficient in IT, but then you will need to allow them to have the time to come up to speed on your particular systems. It costs me very little. The dream is that you find someone from the Far East or the Philippines or somewhere, and they are superb people and they cost you very little. Again, it is possible to find, but don't set out to go, I want to hire someone that doesn't cost me very much as your first aim. Your first aim must always be to find someone who can do the job brilliantly for you, and then figure out cost. And obviously there will be budgetary constraints in what you do. They will worry about my business to the same level that I do. No, no, and no. And that they will not require managing. Every person that comes into your team, virtual or sitting in the desk next to you, they require management intervention from you. There was a story of someone I know who she did a launch. She launched a product and she worked very closely with a VA to do that. And he was absolutely brilliant, and the project was hugely successful. And so she then went ahead and launched another project and left him to it to do his bit. But he didn't do his bit. The reason was he got another client in addition to her, and that other client was pulling him off and was basically making a louder noise at the time. And so he slipped on some crucial stuff that needed to be done for the launch, and the launch was not successful. She was gutted about it, and she came to me asking what went wrong, and I said, you failed to manage him. You left him alone. You didn't manage him. And of course he responded to the loudest voice, and her business suffered as a result. And she was under the assumption that he had as much invested in her business as she did. And no, they are employees. They are working for you. They have their own life. They have different clients. They need you to manage them. Incidentally, these PowerPoint slides will be available for you, because I'm going to crack through a whole load of information. So you don't need to write a lot of notes. The PowerPoint slides will be available for you afterwards. So when you hire, you become a manager. Sorry, guys, for everyone who thought that I've left corporate life behind and I don't need to do any of this stuff before. You become a manager. Therefore, your new job as a manager is to gain extraordinary work out of perfectly ordinary people. Yep, that's the manager's job. And to do that, you need to be someone that people want to work for. That means being the best manager you can be. That means being someone who's reliable, who's truthful, who's professional, who knows where they're going, who knows what they want, who communicates well, who's cheerful. Basically, you want to be the manager that you'd want to work for. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, you want to be that person. And that's a hard thing to do. You've got to show up every day and you've got to work and really get the best out of your hire, get the best work you can out of your hire. You need to make it really, really easy for your staff to succeed. That's your job. So what information do they need? What resources do they need? How much time do they need with you to check in and review stuff? You know, all that stuff, you need to think about what do they need in order for them to succeed. You need to work to earn their respect. Now, I'm putting that in there because a lot of people want to be liked by their staff, and that is the wrong approach to take. You don't work to be liked as a manager because it weakens you, because that means that you'll give them favors. That means that it just weakens you somehow. You work to earn their respect. And you earn their respect by being the manager that they want to work for. And you earn their respect by making tough decisions. You earn their respect by setting boundaries about what is and is not acceptable, when deadlines need to be met, and all that kind of thing. You earn their respect by acting professionally and by working hard yourself and all of those things. Once you have their respect as their manager, you're very likely to be liked. And there's a subtlety in here that really makes a huge amount of difference. You work to earn their respect, and then you will be liked. Okay? And the final part is that you reward with thanks and inclusion. Obviously, you reward with pay because you're paying. But in actual fact, what people value over and above payment in terms of motivation is a simple thank you, appreciation for work done, and also to be included, to be part of something, to be happily included in a team that's succeeding. They love it. And that is what you reward with. And of course, you can reward with sending them a cake for their birthday and all sorts of other additional things that you can think of when it comes to connecting and including your staff in the team. So, you're recruiting. Where to start? Ooh. What do you want them to do? That's the first thing that you ask. What do you want them to do? So what are the tasks that only you can do? That's why I consider you starting. You write down all the tasks that you complete, and what are the tasks that only you can do? And I will put a plea in here. Marketing and sales need to remain on your desk. There may come a point when you find a marketing person or a salesperson, but it shouldn't be the first people you hire. The first people you hire should be admin folk, stuff like that. Sales and marketing really do need to stay on your desk because it's your company and it's your income and it's your business, and you are the only one that will care about it. No one else will care about it quite as much as you do. So what are the tasks only you can do? So you identify those, and then that leaves you all the other tasks. And then also, what are the aptitudes you're weak in? So maybe you're fantastic creative, but data isn't your thing, in which case then definitely hire someone to come in and do data or CRM management or something like that. Yep. So what are the aptitudes you're weak in? What do you hate doing and you consider to be a complete chore? And you have to drag yourself, definitely get that off your desk, unless it's sales and marketing. That has to stay on your desk until you're much bigger. Yeah. And what can you assign away easily? Don't assign complex things away. You need to start with simple things that you can assign away. And then as your VA or your staff member starts picking up knowledge about your business and you start gaining confidence with them, then you can start handing over more complex tasks and things like that. Okay, but think about what is easy. So you'll then have a list of things that you want to assign away. So you now know what you want them to do, but that's only a small part of what you want to hire. The next question is, what attitude do you want them to display? And this is the bit that so often people don't recruit for, and they don't have on their list of essentials to have, But in actual fact, you must recruit for attitude over and above skills and experience. Let me show you what I mean by attitude. You want them to be reliable, a person of their word, honest, quick to learn. That is a fantastic attitude and aptitude to have. Admit and open about mistakes. Able to say, I don't know, sorry, I don't know, can you explain this to me again? Proactive and to take ownership of tasks. So this is where you start thinking about your ideal person in terms of attitude. When I worked in IT in the city, we designed, sold and maintained dealing room systems for banks. Okay, so we provided IT service support to banks for Pacific Software. However, we weren't a bank, so we couldn't compete with what banks paid. Banks paid huge benefits, as you can imagine, just massive amounts of money. So, but we needed people to service them. So we recruited people in cheap. And how did we recruit people in cheap? We didn't hire expertise and skills in city IT systems because we couldn't compete. We recruited for people who had customer service skills, a business acumen, the ability to learn really quickly because IT never stood still, it was constantly moving, and good logical thinking skills. They could look at a problem and diagnose it. And those were the 4 things we recruited for. And so much so that one guy we recruited didn't even have any IT training behind him at all. We just slotted him under an experienced person and we sent him on some training courses. And in 6 months, he was up to speed and off. But he had demonstrated to us that he could learn really quickly and he took ownership of problems and he had a sort of business acumen kind of mindset. Does that make sense to you? So you really need to start thinking here about what kind of aptitude and attitude do I want this person to display? You can give skills and experience. You cannot give personal characteristics. Does that make sense to you? Those are the first things you should be recruiting for. So, when you become very clear on what you want, the easier and more successful it will be to recruit. You have to become extremely clear on what you want to hire. And if you get that one, don't go vaguely. Don't go and say to friends, I'm looking for a VA. And your friend's saying, oh, what's she looking to hire? Oh, well, someone someone who can help me out with admin duties. No, that's too vague. They won't be able to think of someone that would be appropriate. But if you say, look, I'm looking for someone to manage my CRM and to do some basic admin duties, to manage my diary and, bum, bum, bum. Now they're beginning to think of, oh, do I know someone who can do that? And I'm looking for someone who can work from home, is pretty proactive about things, will take ownership, has got really good attention to detail because they're in charge of my CRM. And I want them to have really good attention to detail. And now they're starting to think of people who've got those attributes. So the clearer you are, the easier and more successful your recruitment will be. Where to find them? Now, of course, the first place that people go is Upwork or Fiverr, which is online. Fantastic. Definitely go there. But don't just go there. Spread the net. You're kind of looking for a jewel that other people have overlooked. Yeah? That's what you're looking for. Somebody that, some hidden little secret somewhere. Yep. So Upwork and Fiverr, definitely. But ask around. Think about those with disabled. There are some agencies that specialize in finding work for those that are disabled and sitting at home. And there are some fantastic people in this group who've got some fantastic skills to offer. Retirees are superb places to go and find people, particularly if you're wanting them to have a business mindset, because they may have had a senior job before and now they just want a small job that they do from home 15 hours a week, and they enjoy it. And it's a smaller job, but they come with the business acumen and the business experience that they've had before from their previous work. That can be very valuable. And I have hired people from that group, and it's just been so rewarding. It's just been so great. Returners to work. This is mum returners to work, but a word of warning on that. Their first priority will always be their child. Always be their child, which is fine if you can offer them that flexibility. But if you really need regular hours and set hours, I wouldn't recommend someone who, unless they've got childcare facilities, because, and this is me, you'd have to be pretty certain of that, and you'd have to be upfront about the fact that you cannot offer flexibility, that you want these set hours working. It has to be these set hours. Post on LinkedIn. Contact old colleagues. Yeah. People you've worked with before. Sometimes they can be surprising. They can say, hey, I'll come and work for you. And you're going, really? It's only a small job. Go, no, that suits me down to the ground, because I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Oh, absolutely be perfect. Or maybe they'll be able to recommend. And knowing you, they can recommend someone that will be a good fit for you. And don't shy away from posting it up on your own website, and putting it in, posting it around and saying, hey, we're looking to fill. Anyone interested? Particularly if you are, there could be a fan of your company going, yeah, I'd love to work for you. So post it around and see what happens. In other words, spread the net very, very wide. Just go for it. Just go for it and see what comes up. Okay. The next thing to be sure of is do not select from the interview alone. Too many people just have a lovely interview and then they go, oh yeah, you're fine, you'll do, great. Yeah, there you go. One interview is absolutely not the right way to select someone. I'll tell you for why. It's like going on one date and then marrying somebody. And you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that, because what happens in an interview is you, as the manager, tell them what you think they want to hear, and they, as the interviewee, tell you what they think you want to hear. And it's all terribly sweet and all very nice and cozy and jolly and big smiles all around and handshakes and all the rest of it. Yeah. But you don't actually figure out whether this person's good for the job or not. So go throw in some ideas. If you can, include a friend, colleague, mentor who's people orientated and or experienced in the job to be filled. Someone who knows what they're talking about, or someone who has recruited before a lot in their past. Get someone else involved in the interview, because then you could kind of swap notes. And then also they can say, did you notice this, or did you notice that, or I get this feeling that, or whatever. And you've got someone to bounce ideas with. Tests. Please test. Please do not accept someone saying, yes, I know how to use a CRM. Give them a test. I had a job where I just wanted a database filled from a number of different places. I figured out what the job was. I think it was on Upwork, and I selected I selected 4 people, and I sent them a complete briefing on the job, and I asked them to fill in 4 lines. I asked them to complete 4 records. Okay. One of them did it. One didn't do it. Obviously, the test threw them off. 2 tried with errors, and some significant errors. And 1 managed to complete with no errors. And I hired him to do the job. And actually, it didn't cost me very much. It cost me about 65 quid, which was cheap for the amount of work that he did. And he did it beautifully, he did it on time. But the only way I was able to know that he was the right person was I had tested. Also, when I worked in IT and we used to bring in experienced IT support staff with a good CV, and we gave them the logical problem solving test, I can't tell you how many failed it. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't in the least bit complicated, yet they failed it. And me and the recruiting manager I was working at HR at the time would just kind of look at each other and go, oh, God. Yeah, but better to know then rather than hire them and find out later. Much better. So, if possible, a social gathering for a drink or lunch. If you can, or even, hey, let's meet for a cup of coffee. I want to find out a bit more about you. Let's just meet for a cup of coffee, and do something virtually with a cup of coffee, or try them out for a week's trial or a day's trial or something like that. Definitely offer a trial, definitely do probation, that kind of thing. Okay, let's talk about the interview, because the interview is going to be your main thing for selecting somebody. How to become a professional interviewer. You get some people who are very good at interviews, but hopeless at the job. I don't know if anyone has been caught out by them. I see Louise nodding her head. So I'm thinking that, yeah, you had someone who just said all the right things at the interview, and then they turned up and couldn't do any of it. And you're thinking, oh, there's a trick to interviewing so that you can get around that issue. Have your criteria that you want to make sure they've got in terms of attitude, skills, experience. The first half of the interview, you interview them against your criteria. You are polite and professional, but actually quite clinical and almost cold. You give nothing away, because the professional interviewee, what he's looking for is little clues of what you want. And then he or she gives you that. You give nothing away about what you want at all. You go, okay, I've got some questions to ask you. Can you tell me about a time when you had to sort out an IT problem and get them to tell you. Yeah, you tell them nothing about what you want. You simply interview them against your criteria, and you will be, as I say, clinical and cold. That's the first half of the interview. At this point, they'll be feeling quite, kind of like, oh my God. But also, sweets, they will go, oh God, this person knows who they are. They're professional. They know what they want. Actually, I do want to work for them because they're being professional here. But they won't feel particularly warm towards you. So the second half of the interview is you then connect with them to an interview as an individual. What I do is I put my paper aside. I actually sort of put my paper aside and I go, okay, we've done all that bit now. Let me tell you about the job. And this is where you give them all the stuff about what the job is, what you're able to offer, what you're looking for, who you are as a company. You ask after them as to who they are. You have a very, very, very warm chat. Nice, warm human chat. Yeah? And you sell the opportunity that you have got, the job that you want filling. So when they leave the interview, they leave very warm and they leave going, oh, I want that job. Yes. Okay, but you've got the data that you need first. Does that make sense? Okay. Then you ask a structured professional interview and you ask each candidate the same questions and take notes. That will help you comparing people, offering comparisons. Yeah. So take the time to plan your questions and ask the candidates the same questions. And have them all prepared. So you want to know their experience, their skills, what motivates them, how they approach their work, why they're doing VA work, how many hours do they want, how many other clients do they have, how much capacity do they have, what do they need from you in order to work at their best? You know, how much connection do they want with you? How much information do they want from you? So you have all those questions checked out. There's a book that I recommend, and it's called Great Answers to Tough Interview Questions. It's written by an Englishman, strangely enough. It's been around for years, updated. It's actually written for candidates to prepare for interviews. But if you want to find some good questions to ask, it's a good book. It's a good book. Okay, so do think about that. Now, even though you've got your structured professional interview, bang, 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 and that's all nice, and that's all very good for discrimination and all that kind of thing. You've got all that sorted. You still have to follow your intuition. Do not ignore your intuition. No, don't. Okay? Pause and think. What am I concerned about? What's the question I've still got? And how can I find the answer to that? Follow up any niggle points, senses or doubts. Ask further questions or tests, or don't be afraid to ask them to come back and interview again. Don't be afraid to ask them to do a further test. Hold on a minute, let me go back, because I need to go back, because this is very important. When I was interviewing in the city, I remember once, I was looking for a junior guy, and basically all he had to do was smile at me, shake my hand, obviously be able to add 2 and 2 together and make 4, and he got the job. Yeah. So I went downstairs, and there was this lovely guy standing there who stood up, shook my hand, smiled at me. I'm thinking, thank goodness, I think I found him. I think I found the right person. Yeah. So I went into the interview, and I started interviewing, and my body language was like that. And I kept trying to turn around to talk to him, and my body kept doing that. And I'm sitting there going, why am I turning away from him? Why am I turning away from him? And then suddenly I noticed it. His eyes were completely dilated. He was as high as a kite. And that was so interesting, because instinctively my body knew, instinctively my intuition knew, and turned away from him. And this supposedly brilliant logical brain on top of my head took some time for that to catch up and figure out what was actually going on. So I sort of looked at him and thought, oh no, I haven't found my guy. I haven't found him, because he's a cokehead. Yeah, interesting. But there you go. So follow your intuition, because it will give you the clues. Okay, so do not make do. Whoops, sorry, wrong way. Yeah. You have to hire the right person. Don't think, oh, they'll do. No, please don't do that. You have to be excited, delighted, and really be looking forward to working with this person and feel lucky to have found them. If you don't, keep looking. Do not make do. Because they will be make do people, which is just the kind of like make do people. We were recruiting for an office manager in one company I worked for, and they wanted to make do, and I kept saying, no, no, no. And we hired a person who was absolutely brilliant, and 2-3 years later ended up being MD and added about 2 million to the bottom line of that company. And she started as office manager, and we were thrilled when we found her. Absolutely thrilled. She was fabulous. Well, clearly fabulous. And she was doing that. Okay, so you want to be excited, you want to be delighted, you want to be, I found someone that I think is going to be really brilliant. Do welcome them on the first day. Now, obviously, you can't do all of this. This is clearly a highly branded thing, but send them a welcome package. Send them something to go, something to set the tone, the professional tone, send them the information about your company. Think about, how am I going to welcome them? How am I going to pull them in and have them know how excited I am for them to be joining me? Just send them, welcome them on their first day, and then manage them from the start. Everything has to be set up for their success from the start. What do they need in order to be successful? And what do they need from you? Be very clear and agree with them what you want them to deliver in the first 100 days. Yeah, our first 100 days, that's 3 months. That's a nice, neat little time. So think very carefully, what do you want them to have achieved in those first 100 days? Set them up for a quick win so you can go in and give them some praise as quickly as you can. So they go, oh, this is working well. I'm a winner. They think I'm wonderful. Oh, this is going to work well. Set them up and go in and praise them very quickly. And then feedback on what's going well and what's not going so well as it happens. There we go. I finished only a few minutes late.
Wow, thank you so much, Sue.
I've packed it in. Sorry, I dashed through it. I don't know if people have got questions or whatever, but we're going into breakout groups, aren't we, first?
Yeah, we are. So I wasn't looking at anybody else during that, actually. I had just Sue and the video on. So did everybody enjoy that? Yeah, get a lot from it. Brilliant. Excellent. So, I'm going to pop you into breakout rooms. And then that will be 10 minutes. So I'll bring you back at 12:32. No, hold on. I'm seeing a 3 of them. It's 14:40. I will bring you back for 10 minutes of questions. Brilliant. Okay, so let's reshuffle the groups. Let's recreate. 3 rooms again. We go. And introduce yourselves to those you've not met before. And just talk about anything from that session. And prepare your questions for talking to Sue. Oh, yeah, it's come up. Great. Cool. So I dropped in a conversation there, which was really great. So hopefully everybody else had really great conversations. So I guess we all know how to use the raise hand function on Zoom. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. And Sue, I guess I'll just leave it to you to call on people as you see the hand up. So let's get some hands up, people, with your questions. I assume we have some.
Yeah, it's lovely content.
The function on this.
Yeah, I don't know how to see it.
So you see reactions.
Oh yeah.
And you can put their raise hand.
Yeah. But I think Max wanted to make a point first. Max, hello.
I thought you were going into a question.
Yes, all right. Hello, Max.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because you put the points in many things that I know for the Italian side here, some companies are, terrible. I will be glad to take your content and show it to them in order they open their minds because they are terrible, very, very terrible.
There's a lot of people who just think that having a high churn of people coming into the business is normal and is what you have to do, and it's just pot luck as to whether people work or not, but that doesn't build a very good reputation for you as an employer of choice. And at the moment there's a shortage of candidates in the UK certainly. And candidates can now really choose. They have a lot of offers, a lot of choice at the moment as to who they want to work for. And you have to become an employer of choice. And the way that you interview is setting the scene. And if you interview professionally, then they will know you to be a professional company and be happy to work for you. Yeah. Okay, Kay, you had a question.
Oh, yes, I hired for the first time last year through an account. I'm an accountant, so I wanted to hire an accountant in Sri Lanka, and I gave this guy 9 months, and I hired on attitude. He was a great person. We got on so well. He was so obliging, so easy to help, but he didn't have the skill set.
Yeah, there you go.
He said, I want a challenge. I've been managing a team of 5 people, you know, and I just put my heart and soul into working with him, and I had to let him go.
Yeah, I know.
I've taken all the work back because it was so hard.
So hard. So you were right at getting the attitude right. You got the, but you missed out the tests.
Yes,
you missed out.
I was really interested in that because that wasn't offered because I was introduced from an accountant who's working with a guy in Sri Lanka, and I pay for the office and the computer, and then I interviewed the candidates they gave me for the job, and I had 2 candidates through them, and neither worked out.
No. It went. Using a recruitment agency. I didn't really cover that.
They actually ran the offices there.
Okay.
And they employ staff for their own accountancy firms in the UK.
Okay.
So I think I had 12 in the office that they were using.
Okay.
And then they would find candidates that would be suitable for you and let you interview and choose from the candidates that they had already interviewed.
Yeah, but you're still in charge of the recruitment, and you need to cover every base. So next time it's test, you set them tasks, and it takes some time for you to think of a task.
To develop how to do those tests.
Yeah, it does, because you don't want to take up too much of their time. You want it to be a test of about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. But you want to make sure that they can cover it. But it will save you so much time later. Save you so much heartache later.
Oh, it completely broke my heart.
Yeah, I know. Because you liked the guy and you had to let him go because he just couldn't do it. Darren, you have got a question.
Yeah, so I used to work in IT. I've done the IT, and I've hired people in IT, and I know your pain. One of my question was, what was the logical question you used? Because that's an interesting bit for me, because I like those sort of questions.
Okay, we had a simple chart of a system with a plug at one end and a computer screen at another. I can't remember the bits that were in the middle because our hiring manager did that. But there was, a server and this and that and whatever. And they said, there's a problem here. Where would you start? And a lot of them started in the middle. And we hired the ones that would go, well, I'd check that it was plugged in first.
Yeah, start the process.
There we go. Good one. Because so often the cleaners pulled the plug out for the vacuum, and you come in and the system's not working and everyone's running around headless chicken going, it's not working, because it hasn't been plugged in.
Yeah.
So
I actually got one of my first jobs in IT because of that same problem.
Yeah.
My hiring manager asked me if the monitor is on, but you've got an amber light, where's the problem?
Yeah.
I said, well, it's the computer.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you have to check the monitor to make sure it's working. I said, no, the amber light means there's no signal.
Yeah.
So therefore the monitor's working, it's not getting
monitor's on.
Therefore it's the computer or the cable.
Yeah, the monitor's got power, the monitor's there, but yeah, exactly.
But he was like, oh no, you have to check the plug. I'm like, no, you don't. Why are you asking me to check the plug in that case? So that's the reverse of that was way I got my first IT job.
Exactly.
But it's one of them interesting ones. I've tried doing logical tests on people, like, if you walk into a dark room, there's a candle, a lantern, and a piece of paper. What's the first thing and one single match? What's the first thing you light? And the number of people that argue with me about all the different 3 things that you light first, whereas actually you need the match before you can like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's things like that where people don't necessarily get the logical. And if you're in a logical environment, that logic is very important.
And I think you have to think very carefully, and you might and talk around and actually think what kind of question you want to have asked there. I mean, my hiring manager offered me a job. The hiring manager in the IT company offered me a job. I was working in HR. He said, "I'll give you a job." I said, "Why?" Because he'd just seen me figure out an overhead projector. You remember the overhead projectors?
Yeah.
And I was changing a bulb in the overhead projector, and I was talking to him, and I was talking to him, and I was going, "Oh, that doesn't work," and "Oh, yeah, that works." He said, "I'll hire you." Forget it.
Trust me.
I'm not working the hours. I'm not working the hours, my friend.
Yeah, most of the people in IT wouldn't be able to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. And he was looking for that skill set.
Yeah.
Louise, you had a question.
Yes, a question. Sorry about the phone ringing in the background. One of the major hires in our company, not in myself as a startup, I'll figure that out later, but for our heating company is apprentices.
Oh, yeah.
Testing and also interviewing like school leavers. That is, what's your take on that? Because we do have things in place and we are successful at it, but you can never, in our experience, you can never get it right 100% of the time because of course they don't know what they don't know. They could be their first job.
Yes.
They developing along. I mean, yes. We don't have high failure rates. We have high success rate, but any more tips on that would be great.
I think with school leavers it's so hard because you could have a little diamond, but they don't open their mouth, you know, or you could have someone who really is just a party animal and has yet to learn the importance of work.
Oh, we've had all of these things, yeah.
And needs to be fired in order to figure out that work is not like college or school.
Yeah, we've been there, done that as well, yeah.
Yeah. And if it's the latter, fire them quick, fire them stern, fire them immediately, and tell them why, so that they get the life lesson that they need to learn.
Yeah, we've done that, but we've also pulled around ones that have been through that, and we call it having a wobbly patch, and then they actually still go on and blossom. So yeah,
because there's this huge thing of waking up that you yourself as an employer of young people under the apprenticeship scheme, you're required to do. You're required to do a bit of a parenting job and a bit of an education job. That the only thing I can think of is to get them out doing a task and get them succeeding quickly. And have that as part of the recruitment process. Have them come and spend a day with you and move boxes.
Yeah, we do all of that. And to be fair, it's not bad. And just one observation about the testing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of opposite to what Darren was just talking about. I devised the absolute best test that I've ever devised when I hired. We made one of our best hires. He's our general manager, which has allowed me to float off and begin my therapy job.
Yeah.
I devised a test where I was basically testing to see if this guy would think through a day in the life of in a similar way to my husband, who used to be in that role and was again floating off in a different direction. Yeah. And the guy we hired got it. He got it spot on. And so then I was confident that he would, and he has fulfilled that.
Perfect. A lot of thought. What do I want? How do I test it?
Perfect. And it worked. It really worked. So I have to say.
Yeah.
But now actually I need some of your skills to get my general manager, who I interviewed with the other day, to have his interview skills are not as I would like them to be, although pretty much all his other skills are. So strangely enough.
No, maybe. Well, hire me up, Louise. I'll be happy to.
I'll be in touch.
Give him some time on that. Yeah, absolutely. Chris, you've got a question.
Yeah, mine's around emotional intelligence. I mean, one of the things I look for in people when I'm hiring them is a good level of emotional intelligence. How would you discern that in an interview?
I would ask them, I'd give them a little picture of a client problem and ask them, what do you think they're experiencing? Where are they coming from?
Mm.
What's it like to stand in their shoes? What will be their major concerns? What will they be worried about? And see if they can place themselves in the mind of somebody else and know what their emotions may be.
So you wouldn't say, we spoke to an employee and we heard that you're a bit of a troublemaker. Just see how they react. No, I haven't done that. It just occurred to me. Yeah. But yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I was working for a big company, and this new girl joined my team, and someone sidled up to me and said, "Be very careful, Sue. She got fired from her last job." I said, "Oh, did she?" She said, "Yeah." I thought, I'm not going to. I'm going to take as I find, not as I hear. I'm going to take as I find. And she was a highly passionate person, very energetic and highly passionate. And I could see why she might have got fired from a job, because she could go off left field very quickly. But I had to manage her. I had to make sure that I gave her very clear, explicit instructions about what I wanted her to do, and she wasn't to go there. Yeah.